Okay, so let's apply this now, okay? So let's look at BD. All right, so we're going back to this triangle. All right, let's look at BD. So it's giving us the full distance of BD is 9. All right, and let's say I want to find the length of BG, okay? So BG, and here's the conversation you need to have with yourself. All right, so BG, short segment or long segment? It's the long segment. So that means I'm using 2/3. All right, and it's 2/3 times the entire median. All right, and that entire median has a length of 9. So it's going to be 2/3 times 9. All right, which means if you solve that, BG has a length of 6. Okay. All right, now let's just go through that same process. You could obviously find GD, all right, a little bit easier. All right, but here is my mindset. All right, so GD is the short segment within that full segment. All right, short segment gets the 1/3, and is 1/3 times the entire segment, all right, which was 9. So 1/3 times 9 is 3. All right. And then also just double check yourself. Remember what we said is that it's a 2-to-1 ratio. So the length of the longer one has to be double that of the shorter one, which matches out. All right. It's perfect. Let's try the next one. So this time I'm going to label. All right. So it says now I have the length of FG is 5. Okay. Now you could solve backwards, but I think we should expedite this. All right. So if I'm looking for GC and then FC, all right, remember what the connection is between the short segment and the long segment. All right, the long segment is double that of the short segment, which means that GC has to have a length of 10. All right, which means then that the full segment of FC has to be 15. Okay, not that bad. Now, let's go ahead though and do some where they're maybe not as obvious, all right, because we're going to do some with expressions, okay? So if you look at this next example, we need to find the length of JW, okay? But really all I'm going to do is find X for this because we know we can just plug that back in if we need to, okay? But we're going to find X. So we're given JW, all right, and we're given JB, okay? So here's the conversation. JW is the long segment, all right, within that full median. Long segments get the 2/3. So I'm going to say the length of JW is equal to 2/3 the full segment, and the full segment is JB. So remember, fractions always get the full segment, okay? And now it's just a substitution game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 6x plus 2, plug it in for JW, equals 2/3 times JB, which is 10x plus 1. So I would notice that my 3 doesn't go into my 10 or my 1. All right, so what I would do is I'm going to multiply by 3 to get rid of that denominator. All right, but I have to multiply this side also by 3, the full thing. Okay, so on this left-hand side, I'm going to distribute the 3 through. On the right-hand side, I still have to distribute the 2 through. Okay, but I'm going to get 18x plus 6 is equal to 20x plus 2. So solving it, I'm going to move my 20 over, my 20x, subtract out the 20x. I get negative 2x plus 6 equals 2. All right, subtract out the 6. Negative 2x is equal to negative 4, which means that x is equal to positive 2. All right, so it's a 2/3, 1/3 kind of game. All right, I'm going to do one more, all right, just so that you guys can see it. All right, so if we look at this example, once again, I'm just finding x. All right, if MQ is equal to 3x minus 3 and XQ is 2x minus 6. So I'm going to look at XQ. All right, so I have XQ right here, and I'm going to have the conversation. All right, is that the short segment or is it the long segment? And it's the short segment, all right, within that full median. And I know short segments get the 1/3. So I'm going to write out my formula, XQ equals 1/3 of the full segment, which is MQ. Okay? All right, so substituting in, I'm going to get 2x minus 6 in for my XQ is equal to 1/3. And then in parentheses, what is it, 3x minus 3? All right. And I'm actually going to distribute this one through because I see that my 3 goes into my 3x and my 3 goes into negative 3. So that one's easy. So I'm going to get 2x minus 6 is equal to 1x minus 1 when I distribute that 1/3 through. And then now I solve. So I'm going to subtract the 1x. And I'm going to get x minus 6 is equal to negative 1. And then add the 6 over. And I get x is equal to 5. All right. All right, I'm going to pause here, and then we're going to get into altitude, which is our last special segment.